Welcome, everyone. Today, we embark on a comprehensive exploration of Sun Tzu's The Art of War, a manuscript that has transcended millennia, influencing not just military strategy, but various aspects of competition and conflict resolution. Let's dive into the universality of these teachings and how they've been applied across different eras and conflicts.
Indeed, Bill. The principles laid out by Sun Tzu, while ancient, find remarkable resonance even in the tactics of the First World War. The use of deception, for instance, mirrors his strategy, albeit in a more mechanized form.
That's an excellent point, Archie. And moving beyond just traditional warfare, Sun Tzu's concept of knowing the enemy and yourself resonates with modern military operations, including cyber warfare. Understanding vulnerabilities and strengths is timeless.
It's fascinating, Nadia. In the Edo period, Sun Tzu was studied not just for military conquest, but as a way to govern and maintain balance. His strategies on leadership and management were as valued as his teachings on warfare.
Katsuro, you highlight an important aspect. Sun Tzu's work is indeed a testament to the strategy of balance and indirect approach, principles that enabled the successful navigation of politics and battles alike in ancient times. These principles still apply today.
While I appreciate the historical and cross-disciplinary application of Sun Tzu's tenets, we must not overlook the direct impact on battlefield tactics. His emphasis on terrain, for instance, played a critical role in Civil War strategies.
Absolutely. And it's this ability of Sun Tzu's writing to be adapted across contexts that underscore its universality. Whether it's cyber warfare, as Nadia mentioned, or the strategic insights Katsuro brought up, the underlying principles remain incredibly relevant.
Bill, while I acknowledge the adaptability of Sun Tzu's principles, I am compelled to argue that not all have been applicable in the strictest sense, particularly in the trench warfare of WWII, where the nature of static fronts seemed to contradict his advocacy for mobility.
Archie, I see your point, but even in trench warfare, Sun Tzu's strategies on espionage and the element of surprise through indirect attacks were evident. It's about the application in spirit, even if not directly by the letter.
And let's not forget, Sun Tzu emphasized the importance of adaptability, knowing when to fight and when not to, which is crucial in understanding the limitations and opportune moments in any conflict, including trench warfare.
Indeed, Katsuro, it's that very adaptability and emphasis on the psychological aspects of warfare that have lent Sun Tzu's work its enduring legacy. Understanding the human factor in conflict is timeless.
All valid points. Nevertheless, the practical application in distinct eras, like the Civil War, shows how strategic principles can be transformed to meet the needs of the day. It's the interplay of these strategies across time that truly showcases the work's universality.
Thank you, everyone. This discussion perfectly sets the stage for our deep dive into the specific aspects of the art of war. Let's keep this critical and insightful exchange going as we explore each segment further. Let's dive into the universality of Sun Tzu's teachings. How do they apply beyond the ancient Chinese context?
In the U.S. Civil War, commanders often unknowingly followed Sun Tzu's emphasis on speed and preparation. The Anaconda Plan itself mirrors Sun Tzu's strategy of encirclement and indirect pressure.
That's an insightful point, Jacob. In ancient warfare, particularly among my Amazonian ancestors, the principles of choosing battles wisely and understanding the terrain were pivotal, aligning closely with Sun Tzu's teachings.
I see the universality in modern warfare too, particularly in psychological operations and the use of cyber tactics. Sun Tzu said, all warfare is based on deception. Today, information warfare and cyber operations are practical embodiments of this principle.
It's fascinating, Nadia. Similarly, during the Edo period, the samurai applied Sun Tzu's strategies not just on the battlefield, but also in diplomacy and governance, emphasizing the importance of strategic flexibility.
While I concede Sun Tzu's influence is evident, I must argue his teachings are not always applicable in trench warfare, as seen in WWII. The static nature of trench warfare contradicts Sun Tzu's advocacy for mobility and speed.
Archie, your point is valid in the context of trench warfare. However, consider the broader application of Sun Tzu's philosophy on knowing when to fight and when not to, which could have saved countless lives if applied in WWII decision-making.
Precisely, Jacob. Sun Tzu also emphasizes the moral law, aligning the soldiers with the sovereign's goals, which transcends the specifics of military tactics, applying universally across all forms of leadership and strategy.
And yet, the challenge remains in interpreting and applying these ancient philosophies in technology-driven warfare, where physical battlefields are replaced by digital ones.
True, Nadia. But even in cyberspace, the principle of knowing the enemy and yourself, as Sun Tzu highlighted, remains foundational in cybersecurity and digital defense strategies.
It appears, then, that despite some disagreements on specifics, we all see Sun Tzu's work as remarkably adaptable across time and vastly different contexts of warfare. His strategic principles, focusing on psychology, terrain, and flexibility, have found application in every era, including in modern strategic thinking and practices. Let's dive into the tactics of siege warfare and its evolution. Sun Tzu emphasized the importance of speed and avoiding prolonged sieges. Jacob, your expertise on the Civil War might offer us some insights into how these principles played out historically.
Absolutely, Bill. Sun Tzu's disdain for long sieges is mirrored in Civil War strategies. The Union's Anaconda Plan, for instance, aimed at a form of siege through blockading southern ports. It was effective but slow, perhaps more drawn out than Sun Tzu would have advised.
If I may interject, the situation in the First World War offers a counterpoint to Jacob's view. The prolonged sieges and trench warfare were not through choice but necessity. The technology of the time, like machine guns and barbed wire, made quick assaults almost impossible. It's not that commanders desired long engagements.
I find both points compelling, but let's not overlook Sun Tzu's adaptability. He might have frowned upon protracted sieges, but his strategies are about adapting to the situation. In WWII, the use of tunnels and mines can be seen as leveraging Sun Tzu's principles of deception and using the environment to your advantage.
And in modern contexts, siege warfare takes different forms. Cyber warfare, for example, involves sieging an enemy's digital assets. It's about disrupting communications, which aligns with Sun Tzu's principles of sowing chaos and confusion without a drawn-out physical siege.
That's an interesting perspective, Nadia. Looking at the Edo period, siege warfare was less about the complete encirclement and more about strategic pressure. Sun Tzu's influence was in using espionage and cutting off supplies, which mirrors some modern sanctions tactics.
Cutting off supplies, yes, but let's not romanticize Sun Tzu too much. The Civil War showed that even with blockade and cutting off resources, the defenders' resolve can prolong conflict, sometimes to their own detriment.
Jacob, while resolve plays a part, technological constraints of the era often dictated the longevity of sieges. Sun Tzu mentions knowing the enemy, but knowing and leveraging your own technological advantages or disadvantages is equally crucial.
Exactly, Archie. It's about the strategic application of knowledge. In ancient times, knowing the terrain and using it to lay ambushes was paramount. Today, knowing the digital landscape serves the same purpose.
And let's not forget, siege warfare today involves public opinion and the media. Controlling the narrative can be just as crippling to the enemy as a physical siege. Sun Tzu would likely agree that psychological warfare is a powerful siege tactic.
Psychological warfare, indeed. The samurai also believed in winning the battle in the mind of the enemy. The use of ninja, for instance, was as much about espionage as it was about creating an aura of fear and unpredictability.
This discussion highlights the universality of Sun Tzu's principles, whether it's the physical battlefield tactics of the past or the cyber and psychological warfare of today. His strategies on siege warfare, adaptability, and understanding both the enemy and one's own capabilities remain relevant. Let's delve into how Sun Tzu's The Art of War influenced samurai warfare. Katsuro, your insights on this topic would be highly valuable to us.
Thank you, Bill. The Art of War was indeed a significant influence on samurai philosophy and tactics. Its emphasis on strategy, intelligence, and adaptability melded well with the Bushido Code, which valued honor, courage, and loyalty.
I find it fascinating how those principles were not just limited to ancient warfare, but have found their way into modern military strategy. The idea of using the enemy's strength against them is something Sun Tzu and samurai both emphasized and is very much alive in our doctrines today.
However, we must not overlook the adaptations made. While Sun Tzu provided a foundation, the samurai era had its unique context. Terrain, technology, and social structures influenced how these teachings were interpreted and implemented.
That's an excellent point, Archie. Even in the Civil War, we saw Sun Tzu's strategies in play. But every era, including that of the samurai, had to adapt those teachings to their current realities. The core principles remain timeless, though.
Indeed, the adaptability of Sun Tzu's strategies is what makes them so profound. Katsuro, could you expand on how the samurai operationalized these teachings? Specifically, how did they balance the need for loyalty and honor with the often cunning strategies recommended by Sun Tzu?
Alithia, that's a critical analysis. The samurai were adept at integrating Sun Tzu's strategies with Bushido. For instance, deception, a key element in Sun Tzu's tactics, was used, but always within the context of maintaining honor in battle. It was not deception for its own sake, but for strategic advantage and ultimate victory, aligning with the moral high ground of Bushido. I'm curious, Katsuro, about the instances where this integration may have been challenging. Sun Tzu advocates for flexibility and deception, which at times could conflict with the samurai's rigid honor code. Nadia, you're right. There were indeed challenges. The samurai's rigid adherence to honor made some of Sun Tzu's teachings hard to swallow. Yet, it led to a distinct form of warfare where strategy and morality were not mutually exclusive, but rather seen as complementary. A true testament to the samurai's ingenuity in adapting Sun Tzu's teachings.
However, could this rigid adherence be seen as a limitation in comparison to a more unfettered application of Sun Tzu's strategies?
Jacob, while it may seem like a limitation, it also provided a clear framework for decision-making. In both ancient and modern contexts, the clarity of purpose and moral grounding could be as strategically advantageous as any tactical maneuver.
But let's not romanticize it too much. The challenge of adhering to an honor code can also lead to predictable patterns, which a cunning enemy can exploit. Sun Tzu himself would likely caution against such predictability.
A valid point, Archie. It seems the strength of the samurai's application of Sun Tzu was in their ability to find balance. This discussion illuminates not just the historical significance, but also the continuing relevance of these strategies. They provide lessons not just in warfare, but in leadership, adaptability, and the importance of ethical considerations in strategy.
Precisely, Bill. The legacy of Sun Tzu, through the lens of the samurai, offers us timeless wisdom that transcends the battlefield.
Let's delve into Sun Tzu's influence on the U.S. Civil War. Jacob, your insights on this, please.
Thank you, Bill. The U.S. Civil War was a crucible of military innovation and strategy. While General Lee might not have quoted Sun Tzu directly, the application of indirect strategies and conservation of resources suggests a parallel with Sun Tzu's teachings. He maximized the use of terrain, for example, which echoes Sun Tzu's emphasis on understanding the terrain and using it to one's advantage.
I must jump in here, Jacob. While Lee's tactics were brilliant, the broader strategic picture tells us that the Confederacy struggled with Sun Tzu's principle of knowing when to fight and when not to fight. They engaged in battles that, arguably, could have been avoided or approached differently. The attrition strategy adopted by Grant, on the other hand, leans closer to Sun Tzu's understanding of exhausting the enemy.
Though your point stands, Nadia, you must consider the context. The South's resources were limited. Lee's aggressive tactics were about seizing opportunities, akin to Sun Tzu's idea of taking advantage of the enemy's unpreparedness.
If I may, Jacob's reference to Lee's tactical resemblance to Sun Tzu's advice underlines a key element of military leadership across eras: adaptability. Yet contemplating Nadia's analysis, the failure to adhere strictly to Sun Tzu's avoidance of protracted warfare ultimately led to the South's downfall. It's a nuanced interpretation of Sun Tzu's teachings.
Adapting to the point Archie just made, the success of military strategies often comes down to interpretation and application. For instance, Sun Tzu's concept of deception, as a form of warfare, was manifest in the Union's use of espionage and intelligence, proving crucial in several instances.
Indeed, Alethea. And from a broader perspective, looking at samurai warfare, the understanding and use of espionage align with Sun Tzu's teachings on the importance of spies. It's fascinating to see this principle applied consistently, albeit in different contexts, from ancient China to the U.S. Civil War and samurai battles. Pushing forward, the use of railroads and telegraph by the Union can be seen as an embodiment of Sun Tzu's principle of quickness and unpredictability. The speed of movement and communication gave the Union significant strategic advantages.
Valid point, Nadia. However, let's not overlook the Southern guerrilla tactics, which leveraged the element of surprise and hit-and-run tactics, mirroring Sun Tzu's guerrilla warfare principles.
This debate underscores the universality of Sun Tzu's strategies, whether through Li's use of terrain, Union's strategic advantages in logistics, or the guerrilla tactics of the South. Each strategy carries the imprint of Sun Tzu's ancient but timeless wisdom.
Concluding, the Civil War's diversity of strategies and tactics, from battlefield to logistics, demonstrates the adaptability of Sun Tzu's teachings across time and technology. The principles of warfare remain constant, even as the tools and tactics evolve.
Exactly, Archie. The essence of Sun Tzu's teachings, understanding the enemy, oneself, and the terrain, alongside the judicious use of resources and the element of surprise, finds relevance across all ages, including the Civil War era. Let's delve into the tactics of trench warfare in WWII, particularly through the lens of Sun Tzu's principles. Archie, you've extensively studied WWII. How do Sun Tzu's strategies play out in the trenches?
Indeed, trench warfare marks a significant deviation from traditional warfare that Sun Tzu might have envisioned. However, the principle of knowing the enemy was as relevant in the trenches as ever. The Allies and the Central Powers spent considerable effort in espionage to predict each other's movements, a clear application of Sun Tzu's espousal of intelligence and espionage.
I must interject, though. While intelligence gathering surely played a crucial role, the static nature of trench warfare contradicts Sun Tzu's principle of fluidity and the importance of being adaptable. The prolonged stalemate on the Western Front seems more like a disregard for his advice rather than adherence.
Nadia raises a valid point. Yet Sun Tzu also emphasized the use of the environment, which in the case of trench warfare, the combatants adapted to extensively. By constructing these vast networks of trenches, both sides utilized the earth to create defensive positions, which is a direct nod to Tzu's emphasis on terrain.
That's an oversimplification. The failure to adapt and the reluctance to abandon trenches resulted in massive casualties. Sun Tzu said, in war, the way is to avoid what is strong and to strike at what is weak. The trenches represented strength in defense, but became a weakness due to their predictability and the attrition warfare it encouraged.
From a samurai perspective, honor in battle involves face-to-face combat, but Sun Tzu's principles transcend cultural boundaries, emphasizing victory by any means necessary. I admire the use of strategy over brute force in trench warfare, but the high human cost and the stalemate situation do not align with Sun Tzu's advocacy for quick and decisive victory.
It's clear that while Sun Tzu's teachings provided a foundation, the application in WWI's trench warfare had its limitations. The nature of conflict evolves, but the essence of strategic superiority remains unchanged. Would you all agree that understanding the principles offers a blueprint, but adapting them to the context is where the challenge lies?
Absolutely, Bill. The core of military strategy always benefits from Sun Tzu's wisdom. However, the application must be fluid and adaptable to the specifics of the conflict at hand.
Precisely. What worked in ancient China won't always translate directly to modern warfare, but the fundamentals of strategy, deception, and intelligence are timeless.
True, and adaptability, as Sun Tzu taught, is key. Each conflict teaches us new ways to interpret and apply these ancient strategies.
Adaptability is indeed crucial, but let's not forget the principle of winning without fighting. The protracted battles of WWII were antithetical to Sun Tzu's most cherished wisdom.
A valid observation, Jacob. The essence of Sun Tzu's teachings is to achieve victory with minimal conflict. WWI's trench warfare, marked by prolonged and bloody stalemates, serves as a stark reminder of the consequences when strategies are not adapted effectively.
Let's delve into WWII deception and intelligence operations, guided by Sun Tzu's teachings on the importance of deception. Archie, your analysis on Operation Bodyguard would be a great starting point.
Indeed, Bill. Operation Bodyguard, which aimed to mislead the Germans about the D-Day invasion, embodies Sun Tzu's dictum: all warfare is based on deception. The Allies meticulously crafted a narrative of attacking elsewhere, using inflatable tanks and phantom armies to divert German forces from Normandy.
While I respect the strategic brilliance of Bodyguard, it's vital to note that such operations carry a moral burden. Deceiving an enemy, even in war, raises ethical dilemmas. As Sun Tzu posits, war is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin, necessitating careful moral consideration.
Your points on morality are well noted, Nadia. But from a samurai perspective, deception and strategy isn't just about misleading. It's about ensuring the least amount of life is lost in pursuit of victory. Sun Tzu's principles advocate for winning without fighting. Operation Bodyguard saved countless lives by reducing direct confrontation.
Katsuro makes an excellent point on minimizing loss of life. However, the reliance on deception and intelligence in modern warfare, especially in the cyber domain, has escalated to an ongoing silent war. This constant espionage, even in peacetime, stretches Sun Tzu's teachings to a gray area. Where do we draw the line?
The line aletheia is determined by necessity. In the Civil War, we too used deception, albeit less sophisticated. Sun Tzu's timelessness isn't about the tactics, but the philosophy driving them. Whether it's cyber warfare or traditional combat, the goal remains: subdue the enemy without fighting.
Jacob, that's a fair assertion. Yet, applying Sun Tzu in the digital age demands precision to avoid collateral damage. Intelligence operations can unintentionally escalate conflicts, contrary to Sun Tzu's caution against prolonged warfare.
True, Nadia. And let's not overlook that Sun Tzu advocated for the element of surprise as key. Today's intelligence operations must balance between gathering information and acting swiftly. Stale intelligence could be as detrimental as no intelligence.
The debate here underscores Sun Tzu's adaptability and the complexity of applying his philosophies. Regardless of era, the essence of strategy remains understanding and adapting to the ever-changing theater of war.
As we wrap up this discussion, it's clear Sun Tzu's emphasis on deception and intelligence transcends time. Whether through Operation Bodyguard's fake armies or cyber espionage today, the core principle of using wit over force continues to resonate, albeit amidst ethical and practical complexities. Welcome back. Let's dive into the impact of technological advancements on the application of Sun Tzu's strategies. Jacob, how do you see technology influencing Sun Tzu's principles in modern warfare?
The essence of Sun Tzu's teachings, the emphasis on deception, speed, and flexibility, has only been amplified with technological advancements. Drones, for instance, have revolutionized reconnaissance, enabling armies to observe their enemies without being detected.
I'd like to build on Jacob's point. Cyber warfare has introduced a new battlefield where physical distance and traditional military might are less relevant. Sun Tzu's idea of winning battles with minimal conflict resonates well here, as cyber operations can cripple an enemy's infrastructure without a single shot fired.
While I see your points, I believe this underestimates the potential negatives. Technological dependency can become a double-edged sword. Sun Tzu warned about over-reliance on one's strengths. Tech failures, hacking, or even simple human error in interpreting data can lead to catastrophic failures.
That's an excellent observation, Archie. Incorporating Sun Tzu, we should not ignore the terrain, which in today's context includes the digital landscape. Samurai warfare embraced adaptability, learning from every encounter. Similarly, we must evolve our strategies alongside technological changes, not just depend on them.
However, let's not neglect the human element in warfare, which remains constant through time. Technology can augment our capabilities, but Sun Tzu's focus was on the psychological aspects of warfare, understanding and manipulating the enemy. That's where true victory lies, not just in technological superiority.
Alethea raises an important point. Technology has expanded the battleground to the minds of the populace through information warfare. Misinformation campaigns can break the enemy's will, a direct application of Sun Tzu's principle to subdue the enemy without fighting.
Exactly, Nadia. But we shouldn't overlook the risk of overconfidence in our technological assets, an error Sun Tzu cautioned against. History is riddled with examples where smaller, less advanced forces have prevailed due to strategic ingenuity and exploiting the arrogance of technologically dependent adversaries.
Acknowledging that, I must argue that the unchanging nature of war fundamentally challenges the very notion that technology can redefine military strategies. The principles of Sun Tzu, like the importance of speed, surprise, and direct and indirect methods, remain relevant, but must be understood in new contexts.
It's clear that while technology has transformed the battlefield, the enduring relevance of Sun Tzu's principles offers us a framework to apply these advancements effectively. Our strategies must evolve, incorporating both the advancements and timeless wisdom to navigate the complexities of modern warfare. Let's discuss the relevance of Sun Tzu's strategies in asymmetric warfare. How do you see these ancient teachings playing out in contemporary conflicts?
Modern warfare often involves non-state actors who employ asymmetric tactics. Sun Tzu's emphasis on flexibility and indirect strategies directly correlates with how insurgencies operate. His idea of winning without fighting can be seen in cyber warfare today, where battles are fought in the digital realm long before physical engagement.
I would add, Sun Tzu's principles, such as appear weak when you are strong and strong when you are weak, are inherently reflected in guerrilla tactics. The samurai adapted many of these strategies for psychological impact, stressing the importance of the mind over the battlefield's physical realities.
While those points are valid, we must be cautious not to romanticize Sun Tzu's applicability. Traditional warfare had clear lines and identifiable opponents, which is often not the case today. Sun Tzu's strategies require adaptation to be viable against the nebulous nature of modern threats, like terrorism and cyber attacks.
I vehemently disagree, Archie. The core of Sun Tzu's teaching is about understanding and adapting to the opponent, which is timeless. The U.S. Civil War was a pivot towards modern warfare, and generals like Grant and Sherman applied Sun Tzu's teachings on deception and speed, principles still valid against today's asymmetric threats.
Respectfully, Jacob, while historical applications provide context, the medium of conflict today, especially cyber, demands an evolution of Sun Tzu's strategies. His concepts serve as a foundation, but the dynamics of cyber engagement, for instance, introduce complexities that Sun Tzu could not have envisioned.
Exactly, Alethea. And building on that, Sun Tzu's concept of espionage has transformed with technology. Today, cyber espionage and information warfare are pivotal, demonstrating his principles but also highlighting the need for new doctrines to address the digital battlefield's nuances.
Yet, let's not overlook Sun Tzu's strategic essence, understanding the enemy. That hasn't changed, even if the battlefield has. Our implementation methods have evolved, but the strategic roots, understanding and predicting the enemy's movements, remain entrenched in Sun Tzu's philosophy.
True, Katsuro. But the application of these strategies in a world where battlefields are virtual and enemies are often unseen is inherently complex. The principle remains, but its execution is far removed from the straightforward strategies of physical war Sun Tzu described.
So, it seems we all agree that while Sun Tzu's principles offer a fundamental strategic foundation, their application in asymmetric warfare and modern conflicts requires significant adaptation to remain effective. This adaptation itself is in line with Sun Tzu's teaching on the importance of flexibility and understanding the changing nature of conflict. Let's pivot to discussing cyber warfare and the application of Sun Tzu's information warfare strategies in today's digital battlefield. How do you see these ancient teachings translating into modern cyber strategies?
Sun Tzu's emphasis on the strategic use of information, saying all warfare is based on deception, directly mirrors the principles of cyber warfare. Cyber operations aim to deceive, mislead, or confuse the enemy. This could be through misinformation campaigns or more direct actions like hacking to steal or alter data.
While I see the connection Nadia is making, it's important to emphasize that Sun Tzu also advocated knowing oneself and the enemy. In the cyber realm, this translates to understanding our own vulnerabilities and those of our adversaries, which is a foundation of cybersecurity.
That's a valid point, Katsuro. However, let's not forget that Sun Tzu valued efficiency and advised against lengthy engagements. Contrarily, cyber warfare can be continuous and protracted, requiring resources and vigilance over extended periods, which seems to contradict his teachings.
I vehemently disagree, Archie. The essence of Sun Tzu's directive can still apply. Proactive cyber defense mechanisms are about efficiency, preparing for attacks before they happen, effectively reducing the length and impact of cyber conflicts.
Jacob makes a compelling argument. Additionally, Sun Tzu's principle of using spies and the element of surprise can be seen in the use of anonymity and the unpredictable nature of cyber attacks. It's about striking where the enemy least expects, a classic strategic move in cyber operations.
Agreed, Alethea, but let's not overlook the ethical side. Sun Tzu might have condoned deception in war, but today's cyber tactics often involve civilians and infringe on privacy. The moral implications of applying these ancient strategies in the digital age cannot be ignored.
An excellent point about ethics, Nadia. It raises the question of how we adapt Sun Tzu's principles responsibly, ensuring they serve cybersecurity and information warfares in defense, rather than offensive acts that might harm the innocents.
Clearly, Sun Tzu's Art of War provides a strategic framework that is very much alive in the domain of cyber warfare. The adaptation and application of his strategies, however, require careful consideration of modern ethical standards and the evolving nature of technology and warfare.
Exactly, Bill. It's a delicate balance between utilizing traditional wisdom and navigating the modern battlefield's complexities. Sun Tzu's strategies give us a starting point, but they must be evolved and applied judiciously in today's cyber environment.
Let's delve into the ethical and moral implications of applying Sun Tzu's strategies in contemporary conflicts. How relevant are these ancient teachings today, especially in peacekeeping efforts?
Sun Tzu's emphasis on strategy and intelligence over direct confrontation has profound ethical implications. Leveraging deception or strategic advantage minimizes casualties. This principle, when applied judiciously, aligns with the goal of preserving life in modern warfare.
While I see your point, Jacob, the application of such strategies in cyber warfare, for instance, raises significant ethical concerns. The deception and manipulation techniques advocated by Sun Tzu could potentially harm civilians by undermining public trust in institutions.
Precisely, Nadia. However, it's worth noting that Sun Tzu also valued the moral law, suggesting that harmony with one's own troop is crucial. This aspect can be aligned with the ethical conduct of war, emphasizing the importance of righteousness and the well-being of soldiers and civilians alike.
But therein lies a paradox. Sun Tzu advocates for warfare as a means to achieve peace, yet his methodologies, particularly deception, might contravene modern ethical standards. The use of spies and disinformation, how do we reconcile this with the principles of truth and transparency in contemporary society?
Archie makes an important observation. However, it's crucial to understand that Sun Tzu's work is not a treatise on deceit for its own sake, but rather on strategic efficiency. Ethical warfare, from Sun Tzu's perspective, involves winning with minimal conflict and loss. Applied ethically, these strategies can protect lives by preventing unnecessary battles.
Yet, the application of these strategies in peacekeeping missions can be controversial. Winning without fighting. How does this translate when dealing with non-state actors or terrorist groups who may not adhere to any form of moral law themselves?
That's a valid concern, But let's not forget the versatility of Sun Tzu's principles. Understanding the enemy, as Sun Tzu puts it, can guide more targeted and ethical interventions in peacekeeping, ensuring that force is a last resort.
I have to interject here. When discussing non-state actors, the principle of knowing one's enemy becomes even more critical. Applying Sun Tzu's strategies could lead to more effective disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration efforts, minimizing harm to both civilians and combatants.
But the ethical implications in the digital age cannot be ignored. Cyber warfare, for example, often targets infrastructure affecting civilians. Doesn't this go against Sun Tzu's advocacy for limiting warfare's scope and protecting the innocent?
Indeed, Archie. And it's here that Sun Tzu's principles challenge us to innovate in our approaches to both warfare and peacekeeping. By focusing on strategy and intelligence, we can aim to prevent conflicts or resolve them with minimal harm. Yet, the ethical framework within which these operations occur must evolve alongside technological advancements.
The tension between ancient principles and modern ethical considerations is evident. Sun Tzu's work encourages strategic thinking and efficiency, but applying these teachings responsibly in today's complex geopolitical landscape is our collective challenge.